We call it moving day when you reach the second to last round of a championship effort. It means that there are shots to win the championship outright here, but you know it's either you get the chance to or you're in for a scrap in a championship finale. We welcome you here on iRacing and with Creator Series to the Miami International Autodrome as we get ourselves set for racing action here for some awesome running. My name's Shakespeare, John Harris along with me for today's action. And John, I think it is very telling that Miami is this round on the calendar because it's one of the newest circuits out there on iRacing. It's one of the toughest circuits to string together, and it's one of those tracks where you got two very big places to go and make moves.
For sure, and I think with the long straights and really tight corners, some of them not seam corners on the apex as well, so we're going to have difficulties with multiclass. I don't think I've ever seen a multiclass race around here, so I'm not sure exactly how the circuit or people are going to adapt to the circuit, let's say. So I'm really going to enjoy this one, as they say, because this might have some unforeseen moves. Some of them will pan out, others won't, that's for sure.
And that is the aim and tell of racing out there as we find ourselves here with about 15 minutes before we run away from practice and go over to racing conditions out there. As far as your championship stands out in ceremony, Rescacioso is on top on 262 points with Ancephalosis, the teammate, along with Brendan Hyperstar and Chesnoid are the nearest challengers, and they're on 245 points. They are 17 points adrift. Long way back to Aerotech and Storm Molina. They are third with 83 problems, but a corner 8-1 in fourth. Paul Noodle.Sims on 180 with Hayden Gullis and Suelio Almeida on 174. Alex Gillen and NL Stroopwaffle are on 162 in 7th with Family Friendly Fun Friends Forever in 8th place. Spark by Design, by the way, 9th. And Love 46X Joshimas rounding out your top 10. So really here, John, it sits down now as a game of two.
Effectively, yeah, and it's interesting to see by the standings how the people that were at the forefront, I'm talking perhaps, Paul Noodle-Sim and indeed Hayden Gullis and Suelio Almeida, they were at the forefront, they were scoring the big points, and it really has fallen off a little bit, some of them taking a few breaks during the season, and that's really allowed Rescacioso and Ancephalosis to score those big points to get a little bit of a gap. But as you said, it could be championship winning today, but more likely than not, this will go down to the wire.
It very much will, and let's talk about what the calendar looks like out there over the course of running, because we find ourselves in a place where we say, okay, we're on round 9, there's a special event that comes along on Saturday, and then they're straight in to the final round of the season. So if you want to go and put yourself on the order, you want to say, this is the way it's going to go through. Miami today, Long Beach on Saturday, and then Monza Historic with the chicanes to round things off in this championship. It is a very strong end of 7 days worth of racing where they will have to race 3 times at least.
I'm sure they're going to enjoy every lap of it, to be fair, because you put Miami, which, as I've mentioned, has had no multi-class racing as far as I can tell. You put Long Beach in there, which is a tricky circuit with a lot of bumps at the best of times. Add to it the sort of IMSA racing rules, and we get something truly special, let's say. And then Monza with the chicanes and banking. I mean, everybody knows the start of the Creator Series on iRacing. If you haven't gone to watch it already, I suggest you do so after this race, because it was spectacular.
It was, and it was a truly spectacular bit of action that we were able to keep our eyes peeled on. Right at the very beginning, won the inaugural race by Monkey Matt. But let's talk about Miami and what makes this circuit tick. It is a 5.41 kilometer, 19-turn circuit that continues to test the element and boundary out there around the Miami Dolphins Stadium of Hard Rock Stadium out there. And it is one of these tracks that is built into the weave and fiber of Miami and the surrounding area that goes with it. And one of those tracks as well, which I think, as far as modern circuits go, actually drives quite nicely, with maybe one exception being that tricky chicane section out of 11 and over towards 16.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those sort of crossover tracks. It's very modern, so you don't have that classic street racing track with a lot of bumps and all that. It's quite a smooth surface. There's a bit of camber, especially in Sector 1, notably off camber, around the turn 6 to, I think, turn 9 marker there. So it's really interesting to see how, cars will adapt to that. We've obviously got 3 car classes today: IndyCar, GT3, and the GR86s. They all have different varying aspects of aerodynamics and speed, obviously, so some of them will probably be a little bit more susceptible to problems. But also, you've got that sort of closed walls affair. So as I've mentioned before, you can't spot cars on the apex because some of them are blocked off by barriers, but also no margin for mistakes.
No, there isn't. Let's pull up the calendar now, just so we have a look at where we have been out there overall. And, well, I just want to get ourselves down memory lane at this moment, John, because there's been a lot of great racing out there. Of course, last time out in the night at Talladega Oval, but there has been a whole slew of great racing circuits that have been done with, be it through the initial championship and, of course, with the special events.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, could I choose a favourite one from it? Probably not. They've all had their special quirks about it. Obviously, I did love the Cross-Kart Carnage, the special event that we had, but standout ones, I'd have to say, definitely the first 2 rounds of Road America and Laguna Seca, where everyone was getting used to the cars still, were very special. But we've had standout races. I think you'd agree with that one, Jake.
Yeah, we have had a lot of great racing, and it has been setting itself up for the end of some pretty amazing running. So this championship, I think, is going to go down to a level. It's where we start talking about it, but also for the fun of the creators going out there and trying to throw what they can at the wall and hoping that this is going to stick for them. Let's head down to trackside then, because we've got about 8 minutes and pretty much just under 9 minutes before we get ourselves set and going, where we've got the final fringes of practice to understand what are these cars doing that they have run for the last 3 months and how aggressive everyone is going to need to be on what will be a 37 lap race today.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to think about multiple factors. Pit stops around here will be very, very sort of conclusive to the race result, I think is the best way I could say it, because obviously there are places to overtake, but it's not a guaranteed thing that you can get an easy overtake around here. And you can see the Aston Martin of Stormalina absolutely nearly swapping ends out of the middle sector there onto the long back straight. But it's definitely one where I think tyres will be of paramount condition in terms of tyre temperature. You have to keep them under temps, as they say. And if you really start to overheat them, it's so difficult around this track with so many sweeping corners as it says TV. Just practicing the overtakes in the practice here and going very wide as it seems as well. Yeah, it's going to be really tricky to get those overtakes done, especially with the tyres, I think.
Yeah, so overtaking, I think, is going to be a really critical factor because you've got those 2 big places to go and get a move. But the most underrated place to get a move actually is here at turn 1. So I would turn and say, well, I'm hoping to get that move at 1, because if you get the pass at turn 1, where's the next best place you can make the move? Probably you're looking back at turn 11.
Yeah, for sure. I think anything at the end of a long straight, you've got a lot of slipstream here, and especially we've seen the GT3s at Daytona, for example. They really benefited from the slipstream, and especially when you get the high speeds up, you can really get an overtake going. The IndyCars should be able to use the push to pass to create a few opportunities. They have 200 seconds worth of it during the race, so that opens up the strategy. And for the GR86s, I wouldn't worry about it. They'll be like 4 wide throughout the entire course, knowing them.
Yeah, so we've known how aggressive that the GR86s have been and how they've been looking to pull about with the way that they've been going on. You can see your track map down on the right-hand side, which is indicating where everybody is out there at this point. But I would look at those GR86s. They're not the quickest. They're about down 17 seconds out there compared to what we have seen with some of the other calibers out there of category. They're about 20 seconds down on Josh's corner. They're about looking at Josh Merrin's time as Des has gone backwards and has collected Lithium Fox for a little bit of a friendly, hey, how are you? You've also got the sense that they are 40 seconds a lap slower than the Dallara IR18s. But what they lack in terms of power, they have in terms of drafting ability. So you're not going to catch one, you're going to catch two or three, and hopefully you don't catch them wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, that is going to be really tricky around here. You could lose multiple seconds if you catch them in that tricky second sector, especially with the chicanes and everything. So you've got to be just boxing clever, I think, is the best way to put it. It's you have to calculate when you're going to catch a different car class, who is exactly on track. I tell you what, a spotter would be very useful in today's race if any of the drivers are having a helping hand from maybe a friend or a team member, because that can really give you the seconds that you need. As Des TV right on the apex, they're not ideal for practicing for Josh Merrin. He had to really back out of that one.
Yeah, he had to do everything to keep himself out, and this is what you're looking at here over the course of running there. It's a case of you can't park there, out there. It's very tough to go and get yourself through this section of track and working through along this long back stretch, which has these various different corners that sit down and say, look, I look around left, I look around right, I look up, I look down, I look sideways. It is one of the very tough areas of circuit to get correct, because you know that you're just pivoting for that line into the big braking zone. Now over through this next section here, through the very technical run that goes through. Josh Merrin then just pushing a little bit too hard. Then you've got this left underneath the turnpike, and then you're making the run back to home. So this is where you start climbing up. You avoid there the right, which is the rejoin of the turnpike, but then you're immediately on the power and finding it. And this is where you'd expect those lines there on the screen, the chevrons coming across, to be really important. That is your indicator on your timing tower, ladies and gentlemen, and of course for you as well, John, of the use of push to pass.
Yeah, and it's very crucial to see when they are using push pass. Obviously, Josh Merrin trying to use the utmost of it to try and set the fastest lap, trying to unsettle people. He's got a big gap at the top there, nearly 2 seconds at the moment to Brendan Hyperstar, so he's definitely on form. But you could see in the second sector there, where he had to straight line the chicane, that this IndyCar with the fixed setup that we're running is a bit skittish and just bouncy on that change of height, change of I think just unevenness, I think, is the best way I'd describe it, because you're trying to go over the chicane, you've got to bounce over the curbs, but also there's an elevation change just before it, so you've got a lot to check out. Smiteable back in the IndyCars for this session as well, so he really liked these things last time out, so we'll have to wait and see what his performance is like. But looking at that midfield in IndyCar, and indeed always at the GT3s and GR86s, it's so close every time.
Oh, the abandonment there, and ultimately a case of the unsafety car deciding to be out there and causing a little bit of carnage there as everybody has set themselves up. They are looking to try and push the boundaries, and we are wondering, or if you are wondering, why the unsafety car is out there, why it's causing so much trouble. That's what it does in practice. It's there just to make sure that you're not practicing too hard, that everybody's there, and officially, track is jammed.
Yes, I mean... Really? I can't see why. No, and oh, wow, that's a wreck. That was Ancephalosis saying, I'm breaking up this party. Miami is mine. But it's a car park down there, isn't it? And the unsafety car, I think, has one remaining wheel. So that's an interesting one right there. But yeah, everybody getting the crashing out of the way before the race. That could be a smart move.
It can, and it often will out there. As you can see, the yellows have been thrown here in practice, which we don't often get to see by that. And there is another one of your community creators that are out there and working through. This is Hannah Malvia, who will be out there and pushing, representing Finland in the sim. And you've got the likes of DM Gal back again. We've got Snore Brunch still here, Timo, Mia Rose still looking to make some good progress. Asoy and Risa then, and the likes of Bill Wiskins as well in the 309 that will be looking for good prowess here. Punju, by the way, with about 1:37 here in this practice, I just want to point this out, is going backwards in reverse out of pit lane.
It must be opposite day for Punju. This is an interesting strategy. I'm not quite sure the aerodynamics of the IndyCar are optimized running backwards. I'm not even sure they've tested it, to be fair. It would be interesting to see if I could find any data on that. But looking at the steering, I don't think he's having too much of a good time about it.
Oh, he's got a fishtail on here. Look out, look out. Bang! And a hit there with Storm Molina, who ends up going around for troubles as well. So with about a minute left to go, I think these drivers are all ready that they're going to have to sit down and get serious, because this isn't going to be your quote-unquote wreck fest that they all have to deal with. They are all going to sit down and say, look, we are going to be getting all of the silliness out now. As you can see, there's cars upside down here in the barriers. Brendan Hyperstar is pinned into the middle right now, and there's no way that you can get any closer to some Tech Pro Bar. Wow, that is a shot there of a Toyota GR86 out there. The Stag finding out just how difficult it is to pilot around in that for the moment. And so that, I think, is a very telling view of things, as the Stag does not concern itself with any damage on the car.
The Stag does not concern itself with being boxed in by, like, 6 other drivers at this point either, but I think it emphasizes how much chaos happens in the background in practice, and you can see during the racing they actually keep it relatively clean compared to this. So it's good to see the drivers having a lot of fun. That's what the Creator Series is about as we get to the end of practice, and they'll be gearing it themselves up to have a nice clean race start. Isn't that right, Jake?
Yeah, they will, and this is what we call content out there as they set themselves up. So now, as they look to get themselves ready, let's line ourselves through the grid and where they stand. Solstice is going to be on pole position in the number 27, with Punju alongside the company on that front row. Hayden Gullis and Brendan Hyperstar are going to be 3rd and 4th, as Reska Kyoso will round out your top 5, and then you've got those who are in on a part-time deal: Smiler Bull, Lithium Fox, and Josh Merrin making up the 8 then in your Dallara IR18 field. As it goes for GT3, Enel Stroopwafel will be in control at the front, with its Des just behind in the number 21. As we take a look there, there is Solstice and the Pole Noodle Sim car with Punju there for family friendly fun, friends forever. We will flick on over here in Three's a Crowd and keep an eye out there on Hayden Gullis and Brendan Hyperstar, who are there in that set 3rd and 4th position. And then Reska Kyoso for the VTubers going out there in 5th, with Smileable doing it for the commentators in 6th position. Lithium Fox and Josh Merrin then 7th and 8th. Josh Merrin filling in for Suelio Almeida, looking for a late season charge. Stroopwafel and Des then 9th and 10th, or leading their categories out there overall, as just behind them is Chesnoy Gaming, who will be critical for Brendan Hyperstar, and Josh's Corner, who has got 83 problems, but a corner is not, in fact, one of them. Then there's Ancephalosis looking to try and run forward with pace. Storm Molina is there in the 007, as Sparks will be back of category looking to set this up. Mia Rose will be on front with the Yatasha on the side of the car that you see quite often in drift spec out there, and that's what I got to see over the weekend. Quite a lot of drift spec Yatashas working well. Timo and Hannah Malvia then 2nd and 3rd in that category, as Snorbrunch the Scot will have the Spaniard of Linien, who is there in that next position. Following on from that is going to be Reese and Asoy, and then that is going to lead to the final 3 drivers who are out there. And so that will be a case of, gosh damn, DM Gal, who is running there the Uma Musume machine with Violet Shower on the side of the car, and Bill Wiskins, who is there at the back. The Stag is going to be running in safety car origins today, as we have 2 unsafety cars ready for the 37 laps worth of action that is there. Pace car is rolling here along the back stretch. It is the Porsche iRacing first safety car, which is running on forward, which is one of the iconic safety cars over the course of running that has come through. But for Solstice, a case of run from the front, and with Punju's liveries right now, it's technical difficulties. Please stand by right now as they will look to set ready for the start of this. Hayden Gullis, by the way, has missed the start then of this race and will be having to go from pit lane in order to make prowess up then through this field. The very tight and tricky turn 17 leads on. Pace car is going to be due to dive to the right-hand side with Stroopwafel leading GT3s. It's Solstice who has the charge here in your Dallara IR18s. Round 9 of Creator Series Season 3 sets itself up ready and gets the green flag, and we are underway. Lovely start then by Punju, but it's Reska Kyoso who has got an absolute howitzer into turn 1. Immediately leads.
Incredible scene. Solstice getting caught as well, just pushed onto the curbs. Brendan Hyperstars through as well. Huge scenes behind us. The GT3s went a little bit too early and caught the IndyCar pack as well. So Chesnoid Gaming leading there with Josh's Corner behind, and that Sparks in P3. They've gotten away cleanly as far as we can see right now, and the GR86s are just starting as well. So again, this Sector 1 of the Miami circuit always throws in a few loops in the, or spanners in the works, let's say.
Yeah, and Strootwaffle spinning from the lead of the GT3 category on the opening corner would not have been what the doctor ordered. You look here to your community out there, and Timo currently leading from Mia Rowe. Snowbrunch currently in 3rd position, and Hannah Malvia then in P4, looking to hunt in the Hello Kitty car, looking to jump on up the order. So a lot to try and find a way through with in the early goings, but as it stacks itself up, this is an opening lap, and Chesnoid Gaming to the race lead. That's a brilliant pass, but he's overcooked it again through turn 12, the right. Josh's Corner says, my corner, my place.
Yeah, so much understeer there. Justice Corner got the braking right into the first part of that chicane, and then just went wide. Chesnoid went round the outside, as we just saw, but everyone getting understeered. Des TV making up some positions into P4 right there, with Sparks under pressure right now. Ancephalosis and Stormalina going backwards at the moment, or remaining in position, I should say, for Ancephalosis. And there you can see Strootwaffle right in the background, really getting caught. As I tell you what, I think that's already that's Hayden Gullis, I think, actually in the background. Making up positions. There he is. So he's lost a huge amount, possibly half a lap there already, starting from the pit lane.
And further to that, Reska Kyoso loses the lead. So Punju takes that back, and now exercises some control out there. And there is going to be a case of everybody looking at some side-by-side and hoping that it's going to work out for them into the very difficult sections here. Des side-by-side looking for a move. Josh Merrin also moving up and getting by then the likes of Brendan Hyperstar. So everywhere you look, there's a little something going on. Des finding out that he's seen through. Strootwaffle, so Des in trouble, dropping back. Timo now looking around at this, trying to hold station here. 1, 2, and 3 on the outside, 3 wide into turn 1. A Snowbrunch tries the outside line and won't get it to work.
Nowhere to go. He can't really use the downforce on these cars. Mia Rowe's really wide as well, just defending the inside line. And that is Diemgal up the inside as well, taking the P3 off of Snowbrunch, sorry. And yeah, it's incredible scenes always in the GR86s. They are just side by side throughout so much of the lap. Just want to point out Solstice down to P6 in Indy cars as well. So it's gone from bad to worse at the start. They started from pole. It's not been the race start they wanted, but there's still enough time to get that race back.
Yeah, there is so much time to say, look, I've got a chance of running up the order. I can get what I want here. And look at the side-by-side as Timo now starting to slow along the straight. 2 wide, 3 wide. Little bump there for contact that's gone through. Oh, we're going to go in the wall. Bang. 1, 2, 3, 4. All in there. 5, 6. You've got to throw a safety car for that. You have to, as that is going to be a huge accident then in your field, and that is a massive run. We stay green for the moment, but Reese is trying to pilot around with 3 wheels on the wagon. A massive call out there as it has gone on through. That is huge on the backstretch.
Yeah, as far as I could see, it was Timo, Snowbrunch, and Diemgal that just got into contact, misreading it. Basically, all 3 going for the same bit of tarmac, and it just meant that they were into the barriers. So I think perhaps the unsafety car will be called out for that. A lot of debris on track as well, as we've still got racing, though, as Josh Merrin is trying to take the lead off of Punju, probably sensing that there's a safety car coming out in the next few seconds, and Punju defends the inside line right there. Reska Kyoso just waiting in the weights for for any accident to happen. And there is Reese still trying to get it round, but with 3 wheels, there is no turning possible with that car. And just getting out of the way of the IndyCars is going to be so difficult for them to get it back to the pits, that's for sure. Josh Marin has a great exit there, using the push to pass. You can see how many cars are in the doldrums for the GR86s. Will they be able to take avoiding action? Yes, they will. But Josh Marin defending Punju. It will be side by side into the last hairpin of the lap. There's a car just trying to get out of the way, and indeed Punju backs out. Safety car, indeed.
Yep, so the unsafety car will go out there, and that is going to put the field in late on the call, but they felt there was too much debris on the circuit from discarded, broken dreams of GR86s that are all finding their way down to the pits. There is the unsafety car. Then for the first time going out there and giving as much as possible then for a field to neutralize. Josh Marin leading, Punju in second, and Brendan Hyperstar currently in third. Reska Kyoso, by the way, has come in and pitted out there. Remember, they've got the difference between the black-walled and red-stickered tyres that they have on option to choose, and the difference between them being one a softer compound and one a harder compound out there to use. So most currently on the red-stickered tyre at the moment, which does include Reska Kyoso. Only Solstice and Hayden Gullis have started on the black-walled tyre that is there. Those Firestones getting work.
Indeed, and you have to say for the Red Wall tyre, which is the softer compound last time I checked, it's really difficult around this track because you've got some really fast-flowing corners, and I'm surprised to see Reska Kyoso boxing this early and not changing compound of tyres to the harder compound to get out of the way. Obviously, I'm thinking that most people are going for the softer compound because you have some long straights as well to cool off the tyres to counteract those treacherous corners, let's say, for tyre temperature. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Perhaps, again, Reska Kyoso just short fueling a little bit in anticipation that there would be some mayhem. They were correct if that was their evaluation.
Well, you look around, it's primaries and alternates which are out there, and I think Reska looks at this and says, look, anytime I can get a cheap pit stop to put more fuel in the car, I'll lose the track position and I'll find a way to get back into order. That, I think, is going to be the way that this championship has been fought. So Reska happy to say, look, I am behind a few here, so I'm going to be in, what, 5th position on this restart? I take it. I wouldn't want to take this because here is the next worry out there. Weather report, it's raining. Category 1 rain to start. Expected to go to Category 3 rain, yellow band rain. And there is Category 5 red rain on the horizon.
Oh, dear Lord, as they say, that is a lot of rain on the radar. And just looking at it right now, it seems to be everywhere. So it's definitely going to throw a spanner in the works. Do you want to box already for the wet weather tyres? I mean, it's not wet on track at the moment, but it will be sooner rather than later. So you've got to make the decision. Do you want to lose track time right now? Maybe have some overheating tyres right at the start, but gain in terms of overall time? You have to wait and see. Also, for the unsafety car, they may be on dry tyres, and it might be interesting if the unsafety car has to stay out for a little bit as well.
Well, they have two. So what they could do is they could send one unsafety car into the pits on dry tyres and let the other one take over on wet tyres.
You're quite right. Yes, a galaxy brain thinking right there from Jake. That's for sure. I don't think we've ever seen that. And we are seeing drivers box. Yeah, Punju in the pits as far as I can see. So, yeah, Solstice as well, I think. So, a lot of drivers just deciding. Hayden Gullis there we can see as well. Lithium Fox also boxing for tyres. So, I can presume this is for the rain tyres straight away.
Well, here I argue the case of, if you're in pit lane, does that still constitute the racing surface?
Oh, that's a one for the stewards right there. What's your interpretation, Jake?
My interpretation is I don't think it is the racing surface, the pit lane entry. And so you should have license to overtake on pit lane entry if a car is too slow and being a little sleepy. But a lot of rules will turn around and say, yep, that's still part of the racing surface to go through. I've just heard, because this has been such an early safety car, that safety car is due in at the end of this lap.
So a lot of people are going to have to get a move on in terms of getting back into the pack, and it does look like the IndyCars have already got there. But in terms of the GT3s, they'll have to get their skates on, as they say. I think multiple drivers have boxed there, and you can see the gap with Sparks there, 15 seconds. They're going to have to close that up fast. It will mean that some drivers have up to temperature tyres as well, as we've got a split grid at the moment on IndyCars, some on wets, but the essentially the front four of the IndyCars are still on the dry tyres.
Yep, so Smileable has gone to the wet compound, or grey tyres, as they are more commonly used. Hayden Gullis on wets, Lithium Fox on wets, and Punju on wets. They are looking to try and hold on a track condition that is very lightly wet at the moment. We normally see the crossover on a lightly wet machine out there, or a lightly wet circuit. That's normally when you hit the crossover of, that's the difference between dry and wet. Here in Miami, 27 degrees track temperature right now. And one thing we always see with the unsafety car is that the way that an unsafety car leaves, while a safety car is always safe, an unsafety car, John, is unsafe when it leaves the circuit.
It is. I'm also noticing while I'm looking at the screen here, it's not really raining through Sector 2. It's only when you reach Sector 3 that there's a little raindrops. But then again, those raindrops have disappeared as well for the moment. You can just see them there on the back stretch. And that is going to be, that's the final sort of turn, hairpin turn there, or penultimate turn, I should say, of the circuit. So we're going to have to wait and see. And here goes the unsafety car. Let's see what they've cooked us up for us today. Hurtling towards the hairpin, and we are going to see something monumental. There are no brakes on this unsafety car. Let's have a look. Will there be airborneness? Most definitely. And another safety car, and all the way into the trees. They are playing with the birds right now.
Well, that's a huge accident, and it's one which has put the second unsafety car up in the catch fence on the tyres down there, and about halfway over, then back towards Orlando. As far as it sits, Josh Merrin, there's the look at it there on replay. Boom. Big accident then. But Josh Merrin has himself control of the field. We'll be back to running here on lap 6 here of this race, and we are now back to running at this moment in time as Merrin under pressure immediately on this restart from Brendan Hyperstar, trying to work her way through. Solstice and Reska Kyoso then follow in their suits. GT's making stops as Josh's corner comes in with the pit stop then from leader category, giving Chesnoy then the run through. And because of the short safety car window, it's going to leave some drivers out there tiptoeing on ice on cold tyres.
Indeed, and definitely for the dry runners here, it's really tricky for them at the moment. They've managed to create a bit of a gap, it must be said, to the wet weather runners. You can see a little bit of trail of just droplets of water there coming up from the downforce, but it's not that wet yet. You could probably still get away with it, especially with up to temperature tyres. We are seeing a move here. I think that's Brendan Hyperstar on Josh Merrin. It certainly is Josh Merrin on the inside there, but Brendan Hyperstar just having the overspeed in the slipstream, and it will be so tricky right now. As you can see, the rain intensifying already. This is not what the drivers wanted, but we love it here in the commentary box.
We absolutely do. They'll have to be very careful about that rubbered in line, which is going to get slipperier and slipperier. Solstice there, and off the road goes Brendan Hyperstar. That's going to cause troubles then as he looks to put the power back down. Solstice then, who's running on what is the primary. The primary. By comparison, it is a tyre that I think will do a little bit better here in these cooler conditions because you're not being so aggressive on it. But Merrin straight back through to the inside, chucks it on the brakes into turn 17. And so now this becomes a game of how long do you wait? Reska Kyoso now has got onto the back of the train. Remember, Reska is on the wet tyres at this moment. It's a much different scenario than what we have seen from some of the other cars that are out there and running. Mia Rose leading her category at the moment, but Josh Merrin holding station for now.
It doesn't, I'm just looking at the telemetry, obviously probably hasn't updated, but yeah, definitely still showing Rescue. Oh, that's contact. The Soy spun round in Sector 2 there. A very common incident, probably just attacked with a barrier there as well. There's quite a bit of damage on the front of that car, unfortunately. So, and it's not turning at all, maybe suspension damage right there. But you can really see how treacherous it is already, as the packs of racing cars have been already broken up by this weather.
They have done, and look at how quickly then the GT86s get put down by Smileable and the like, who are moving through and going by side as Bill Wiskins on the outside, Hannah Malvia on the inside. Hannah is going to hold on that and gets that Sanrio machine to turn and do enough out there at this point. So brilliant stuff on their battle, and they're going to have split strategy out there as in comes Linien in for a stop. And then as well as Linien is Gosh Damn making the pit stop in. Still that side-by-side, as you can see the Rooster Tails kicking up. Bill Wiskins to the front then with the pass, and will now be trying to hold as Strootwaffle turned around out there. And, trouble for Bill Wiskins.
Yeah, just on the blue bit of tarmac, no grip whatsoever. It's kind of a painted surface, so it's not what you want to be going into. And this is basically giving away a pit stop right now. So definitely the ideal strategy may have been to pit. We're seeing a lot of drivers get it wrong, and I think that there was a moment there for Josh's corner there into that one. So we'll have to wait and see. Yes, it was huge incident. I did see them swap the rear end around, and that is going nowhere. Rear tire damage right there.
That's a big accident for Josh's corner. It's a massive shunt, and one where, the back just completely destroys itself then, and that causes more trouble than it's worth. So Josh's corner critically didn't rejoin the circuit, so all the damage would have been off track. So I think they're not going to throw an unsafety car for it, John.
No, indeed. I think that's Reska Kyoso in the pits, yes. So they hadn't been onto the wet weather tyre at the moment. So Punju carrying on. As far as I can see, they are the first one on the wet tyre. So everyone on the wet tyres, but they're so struggling through these conditions. It's already tiptoed. That was a car off. Was that
Bill Wiskins?
Bill Wiskins, yes, it was. So more trouble. I think possibly damage from that earlier contact. And it looks like they are back to pits as well. So they haven't been able to make it round the lap. Some drivers getting caught out on those dry tires. Basically, the crossover point has been nothing on this race. It's either you pitted at the correct time or it's too late.
Just in front of Brendan Hyperstar was Josh Merrin having a huge moment. Hayden Gullis now is up into second position. And here is Brendan, who is looking to try and get now into third and work through and get this move sorted. This is where you're going to have to absolutely drive your heart out to try and get a pass like this. But Brendan hoping to hold his station, hoping to hold his ground right now, but struggling in terms of this as Josh Merrin has now gone through. We're going to be radio for a little bit right now with Punji out there and leading this pack as far as it sits. But here on lap 8 of 37, there's still a very long way to go in these atrociously wet conditions.
Yeah, the weather playing havoc with our radar here on track, so some shenanigans happening, that's for sure. But Punju has been a brilliant strategist in this race, just managing to calculate it correctly, get the jump on everyone else. And Reska Kyoso has, well, after that brilliant strategy at the start, has just fallen by the wayside. Maybe a little bit of a spin here. It looks like they've still got all of their front wing, so nothing amiss right there. But definitely a lot of drivers Sparks just tried to move over. Reska Kyoso tried to go for the gap, and that was closing, and that's straight into the barrier, so definitely it will be damage, and Sparks will just be saying, sorry, didn't see you there, probably. And it's so difficult when the closing speeds are so fast around here. We've seen it in multiple races. That's another example of it right there.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. And Punju here in the puddles in this race lead here, just about tiptoeing away past Snowbranch, who gets sideways. They're just behind and tries very aggressively to hold the station and just manages so in the leader category right now. Massive gap over Timo and Mia Rose here. This is a very different style of race to what we have seen through many of the other runs. We note as well that Ancephalos is just one position ahead of Chesnoy Gaming, and Reska Kyoso 3 places behind Brendan Hyperstar. So as far as championship goes, it is going to be as tough can be.
Yeah, for sure. It's just one of those things you just have to, I think, judge what's going on. Just judge where your pace is, how you can really carve through the pack. Now, you have to get comfortable with the conditions. It's only going to get worse. As we said, Category 5 rain at the end of the race. So this is probably verging already on Category 3, if not worse. As you can see, the entirety of the track is wet weather conditions right now. There's not even a dry line. So you just have to gauge the grip. You have to get settled in with how the car is handling. And then once you're confident, try and push the car, but there's next to no margin of error right now, and it's just, I think, the case of how much you're willing to risk to gain a position at this stage.
Every position is going to be a huge factor. Punju then leading here, 15.5 seconds. Josh Merrin is third with Hayden Gullis up in second position. Snowbrunch, then your leader currently in GT86s for your community. Sparks dominating proceedings right now by a 13-second margin over Storm Molina as things currently stand. So that is going to set itself up then in terms of what they are eyeing as far as this race is going to go. So now what do you stand back with and say, how can this race come back to you? Because Timo, look at the difference in terms of lap times over that last lap there, John. Snowbrunch did a 2:42. Timo, 2:33. You are really dropping an abundance of time if you find yourself in the really slippery conditions, letting traffic go.
Yeah, I mean, Snowbunch under pressure right now as well, so it's not helping. Timo to the inside as well. Great switch back there to get the drier line comparatively on the inside, and it's a clean move right there for the race lead. So Snowbunch down into P2. I think it's just a case of a lot of drivers falling foul to the conditions. Oh, contact! It was just Timo trying to turn in. Snowbunch taking a slightly wider line, not making the apex really, and that has really gone badly for Timo. I think they've been in the barrier a little bit. That car is crabbing a tiny... yeah, it's crabbing a lot actually. So hopefully that's not all damage and it's just loss of traction. But that was just a misread, I think, in my opinion.
Really difficult there, and Snowbrunch, who's got his best Colin Turkington on from the touring cars out there, has gone and found his way through and now realizes just how tough of a day it is going to be out there as Snowbrunch holds the lead and holds it steady right now with the gap that's there. Worth noting as well, Lithium Fox now up into third position. They're getting by Brendan Hyperstar and Hayden Gullis out there, who is trying very hard to drive in these pretty atrocious conditions at the moment. Snowbrunch still having to deal with his defense for the moment, and Timo here, who is out there repping for Strootwaffel's community, is trying everything as the Dutchman to get close enough to make this pass. Troubles for Lith.
Yeah, indeed. Just missing the braking zone in the final hairpin there. And it's just so easy to lock the brakes, especially because these IndyCars don't have any form of ABS or indeed traction control. So you're just playing with the limit. And you can see the steering wheel just counter steering, just flicking left and right to find any grip whatsoever. So once you lock the brakes, you've just got to commit to going wide. And especially with the hairpin having that barrier on the exit of it, you just have to commit to going round, just doing a U-turn effectively. And you can see it sliding. You could just see the car sliding all around there. I messed up the commentary there because I was thinking they were going to go all the way round. They've saved it. But this is absolutely splendid driving. It's just so treacherous.
Look at it. It is a lake. An absolute lake. There's boats down on the inside of this section of road as you go through 5, 6, 7, 8. And so as you sit back and go, they're actually going to be functional by the end of this one, surely.
First time they'd be used as boats, that's for sure. And there would be less complaining. That's something. And Timo up the inside again here of Snowbrunch, and that's a clean move once again. So I think just Timo having a little bit more confidence at this stage in the race, but it's just marginal, so marginal. You can see the cars just having no traction on the rear wheels. As soon as you light them up, you lose any traction, even though these tires have just huge grooves in them. It's not enough to clear this level of standing water. Just look at it. It's not a lake, it's not a puddle, it's an ocean right now on the track.
It very much is a case of how much are you going to have to tiptoe, and it took only a couple laps for us to get into this position. And so everybody now realizes aim of today. Oh, Paul, that's a massive smash up. Front wheel's gone, and that is a big hit out there, a huge hit. And so that is going to be in the barriers, and that is a massive, massive hit for Smileable that puts him out. Oh, it's a huge wreck. Hayden Gullis as well has been caught with Lithium Fox, who has jumped over the top of Hayden Gullis out there. Surely they're going to have to throw the unsafety car for it.
Yeah, most definitely a lot of damage, and I think Hayden has at least a wheel disconnected or broken, because look at that, the car. He's turning fully to the left, and it's not going. I think there's one of the rear wheels that's completely disconnected from that car whatsoever. He should be able to get it back to pits. That's quite a lucky place to have an incident. Unlucky to have the incident in the first place, but he should be able to sort of straight line this. No, he's going into the barrier. He's lost the speed, and he's lost the turning ability with it. That's incredible scenes. He has got it back to the pits, though.
Just managed it. So that's going to be a really, really tough hit to have gone and dealt with out there to go through. But right now they continue on with Josh Merrin out there at this moment, who is trying to work a way through here with Chesnoy Gaming. Josh's corner. Punju is out there currently leading, but Josh Merrin has been absolutely hunting down Punju out there at the front of this field. And so that gap, which was up at, what, 6 seconds at the start of this lap, is now going to be down to like 1.
If that, really. I mean, there's just closing in. Just so many cars. I think, hang on, Punju's missing a part of the front wing there as well. So lots of people in the wars at the moment. You can clearly see there's half a wing missing right there from Punju's car. So he's been in the barrier at some point or collided with someone. And you can see with the spray there, it's impossible to spot the slower cars in front of you. So if you just come across them in one of the straights, you are just ploughing into the rear end of them. There's not much you can do about it.
Well, who remembers David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher that cost Michael his championship, basically, after a dominant position where there was a slowdown from the McLaren and basically a fight that almost ensued down in pit lane at that point. So that really tough in terms of where they sat. But no unsafety car then has currently been called out there. It's big issue for Hayden again. Out there, he's in the barriers and he's spread eagle across the circuit on the back stretch.
Oh, it's just going from bad to worse for Hayden, isn't it? And it's just one of those things. I think he might have gone back to pits there on that one. So, yeah, from bad to worse, as they say. No, he's still there, still strewn across the track, but no movement had there. And I think he's just waiting for a way to go. And he's managed to get it back into the little cutoff area there where to drag cars behind the barrier. But a lot of people missing their front wings there, including Hayden, including Punju, and Josh Merrin has got by for the lead of the race right there. Josh Merrin just driving a calm race, just closing in on Punju. But Punju with that lack of front wing, the downforce not in effect. Especially you need it during the rainy conditions all the way into the barrier. He just tried to commit to the corner. There's nothing there for him on that car, and he's provided more damage to that front wing. Look at it. It's bent up in the air now.
Yeah, so if it's one side that is completely missing, the second side now ultimately not functioning properly as a wing, then it's going to be a nightmare out there as they set. So there isn't really much more to try and set then at this stage. So that is going to be a really tall order. John, that's going to be tough out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's, I mean, it's so tricky. You mentioned the Coulthard versus Schumacher incident. That one happened quite literally because Coulthard was trying to let Schumacher by and just lifted off the throttle, but you've got no way of communicating that to the drivers behind you with the spray and everything. So basically, it just becomes a game of instinct, and it's so tricky out there to judge what other people are going to do. And you can see that just everyone is tiptoeing around there. Punju, as soon as you lose any type of downforce or get any damage, it's just I wouldn't say game over, but you've really just got to think about it and maybe just try and err on the side of caution. That's for sure. So we'll have to wait and see how the race develops. We are scarcely, not even actually halfway into this race, so a lot of action to happen as well.
It's too wet out there at the moment. Unsafety car is going to be a huge moment then for everyone, as it is going to slow this field on down. We're going to get a little bit of a chance to talk, and there you can see it there. That's a big old wreck.
Is that Hayden? That is Hayden Gullis.
My question is, how wouldn't it be Hayden Gullis?
Okay, no, he's got a point. But, yeah, there's no turning ability on that car, and he's coming up to the hairpin, I just want to point out. So this might be an interesting one to watch in just a few seconds. I don't know how a car that has no wheels connected at the front will steer, but we're about to find out, everyone. Maybe he's got a rudder to turn this car in, but no, that went decidedly straight on, didn't it?
Yeah, can't turn. Nothing that can be done about that. And so we find ourselves with the unsafety car out there here, lap 14, soon to be lap 15 of your race at this moment in time. Jake Sperry and John Harris bring you through all of the coverage here of Creator Series as we are setting through here at the pointy end of the championship with 2 rounds to go. And John, really here, the rain has completely created this massive, massive change out there where everyone is starting to say, right, if this was purely a dry race, we'd be very, very happy. The fact that it's bucketed it down so quickly here, and the rain hasn't come along from the west, it's come along from the east and across. That's creating a lot of carnage out there for everyone trying to make sure that their laps are holding their ground, that everyone's able to keep the pace up because they've had such a quick transition.
I think there's been multiple things that have happened to just make it a chaotic race. As you said, the rain arrived from, I think, a part of a track where the first... I'm just thinking right now, we spotted it in Sector 2 first, that's for sure. And I think what happens there is it lulled them into a false sense of security. It's only raining on one part of the track, so it won't box for the wet weather tires. Then multiple people went off at the restart because they were still on dry tires, and the rain just swept in, as you said. And then effectively just turned into a lake or a river or whatever best adjective you could take to describe it. And effectively, I think just people are caught out by the change of grip conditions. When it's a gradual one, you can go lap after lap on the same line until the car gives way a little bit, and then you can go, okay, now I need to back off, now I need to back down and figure out a new racing line. But here it was just completely, you had to switch from the dry line to the wet line in maybe half a lap, if not less. And with those very long braking zones into turn 11, into turn 17, and basically the entirety of the first sector as well, where you have to hold on for dear life, I think people are just overstepping the mark. And especially when there's a car to overtake, it's just all going wrong, effectively.
Yeah, and no one wants to see a race like this one go wrong as we get ourselves back out looking at racing circuit here with Brendan Hyperstar in 3rd position, just quietly taking the Team i5G livery colours, then out for a spin here at this moment in time, and has been doing a wonderful job of holding this one to the ground and saying, look, I'm happy here in this 3rd position. I'm not having to do too much worries when I know that Reska Kyoso is behind me and the unsafety car waiting to pick up with the Stag behind the second of the unsafety cars at the moment. So they find themselves together and working on through. So that is going to be a really strong moment then in terms of where they go. Sparks has been the one dominating out there. So that is going to be a really nice run from Sparks up the order. Stormalina 2nd, and Dez has worked really hard from being spun behind, John, into 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a comeback drive, that's for sure. Des, we saw drop it multiple times, especially at the start of the race. So it's kind of been, that Lamborghini is probably not the easiest of car to drive in these wet weather conditions. Mid-engine, quite snappy in the dry conditions. So yeah, it's really, really tricky out there for them. But Stormalina and Sparks in those, I'd like to call them stable cars of the Audi and the Aston Martin. This could be their race, as they say, as they will have, I won't say an advantage, but more drivability in exchange for maybe a bit less pace. So we'll have to wait and see how the dynamic pans out in the GT3 class. That's kind of the unknown at this marker, as every other class is the same car.
John, I believe I misheard you. I thought you said the Aldi out there. So I guess it could be cheap discount German brand out there that has gone through. And you're always fighting something that you don't expect in the middle aisles.
I'm not expecting to find a mid-engine GT3 car at Aldi, that's for sure. Or if I do, hopefully it's at a huge discount, that's for sure. I'd like to go for some real racing. But yeah, for sure. If you know of anyone that's selling one at Aldi, I'm all ears, as they say.
Well, the unsafety car right now is hitting 80 kilometers an hour backwards around the circuit. This is your Dutch reverse racing to a new extreme.
That's for sure, and they're driving very smoothly as well. That's the funny part about it. You know, the unsafety car, I think it has
100 kilometers an hour in reverse.
They're about to go into another dimension, back to the future, indeed. And I think, what would people think if a car appears in the past driving backwards and there's no explanation to it? I think that would raise a lot of question marks, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it certainly would do. And this unsafety car is doing everything that it needs to hold the pace. And in fact, there were some people who were out there in the pack in these conditions. And I'd probably look around to those who are in the community group going, yeah, can you actually slow that down a little bit? We can't keep up.
Hang on, wait a minute. The unsafety car is doing unsafety things? Who would have thought? My days. But I must admit, I don't think the Cadillac GTP group thought about testing this car in reverse, or it definitely wasn't on their testing thing. So there's a lot of testing going on. This is going to be absolute chaos. Hang on, backwards through sector 2. Oh, getting a little bit of a tank slapper. Bear in mind the steering now is on the rear axle, so it's a bit like driving a tractor in reverse right now. He's got the steering wrong. He's gone the wrong way on the wheel. What's going on here, unsafety car? This is absolute scenes that I've never seen in racing before, but that's why we love Creator Series.
Look, the only time I think we saw this is when Matus decided he's wanted to go through, and apparently it's a forklift, and it is forklift certified out there at the moment. So I would say this is what you turn around. You look at what an unsafety car can do, and I would turn around at this one, John, and say, well, it's doing all of the heavy lifting.
You could say that the unsafety car has a license for that. And it's got a license to do unsafety car things as well into the heavy braking zone. Well, maybe not 100 kilometers.
They will have a look and they'll do the Spider-Man meme.
Is that one fair to show on the cameras? I'm not quite sure, but they're definitely going to have to. I guess that reverse gear is worn out right now on the GTP. They definitely didn't design it to go miles reversing. I think it's lucky if you can get one of these race cars into reverse in the first place. They often don't want to select reverse, especially if the engine is very warm. So the untold amounts of damage right now being done to that Cadillac GTP car, the unsafety car, is monumental, and they'll hand it back over to the other unsafety car driving the correct direction. This is weird now. I'm not sure if I like that.
Well, here's the thing that I think they'll be looking at here. If the unsafety cars come in at the end of the lap, I would really love to see unsafety car 2 pushing unsafety car 1. I want to see the Stag on a full push.
Oh, we've seen the... Oh! A bit of a donut round and tapping the barrier there, losing the rear wing. Oh dear, that car's even less drivable than it was before. So the unsafety car has unironically left debris on the track even before the safety car restart. I think there's many rule breaks in terms of safety here, but that is exactly what we have the unsafety car for.
Well, this is sim racing. You can do things that you can't do in the real world. Of course, you've got to be safe in the real world of racing out there, and you please race responsibly. But here in Creator Series, you've got a little bit of creative license to go out there to push through the corners, to not worry so much about each and every stage out there. But now here comes the call. Both into pits, and unsafety car 1 is going to make that first decision then to jump down in and make that accident a reality, trying to get it slow, trying to get it slowed. Oh, just noses it into the side, not much there. Here comes unsafety car 2. Oh, has caught it right up into the wall there, and unfortunately has not been able to clear the sky on the launch then that's set. So now control of the field with Josh Merrin, who leads this one outright at this moment as they sit and look to go onto that one. Boosh! That one, a strong shot out there. It was like a Philip Lahm blockbuster strike out there. Josh Merrin will get this field back to underway then, as we will go on lap 18 of 37. Just over halfway. What a slide.
Brilliant snap recovery right there. Just had to ease out of the throttle, but just quick recovery. Josh Merrin just seems to be on top of these conditions at the moment. That is Brendan Hyperstar and Punju. Brendan Hyperstar going all the way around the outside. Punju just not managing to find the traction all the way over the curb for Brendan, though. This may give the gap to Punju. Look at the car skedaddling all over the place. They are not finding any traction whatsoever. Even the lines behind them are not clearing any of the wet weather and the rain off of the track at the moment. You got Solstice and P4 at the moment. Lithium Fox all off the course. And that, I think, was Rescacioso as well. They just managed to avoid the barrier, but it's oh so close there.
VTubers following each other off the road and trying to find a braking mark and just getting nothing for it here in GT3s. Oh, huge accident in GT3s. Stormalina's caught up in it. So too is Ches. And that's going to be big. Chesnoid Gaming caught up. Right. Oh, and has a massive smash up again as Josh's corner was late to the party.
Yeah, so that's Stormalina losing it, and I think Chesnoid Gaming, perhaps with the spray on track or something like that, just wasn't able to see in time, locked the brakes and trying to avoid Stormalina, and that's Josh's corner there, the end of the incident there, where Chesnoid's trying to get it spun round and rejoin, and then Josh's corner just has no way of avoiding that one.
No way of getting around it, and you've still got your 86s out there improving. They've got great battling prowess as Mia Rose now going at this one down the inside of DM Gal, who's trying to move up to second position as Timo leads now the category and does so by a handful of seconds out there. Mia fully on the defense here and having to worry through 7 and into 8. And now Hayden Gullis trying to work a way through as he works with just mechanical grip.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it looks like Timo's just creating a gap at the moment in the Hachiroku section right now. And Miro's really on the defensive. And we haven't seen the ultimate pace from Miro's. They've just been involved in a few incidents here and there, repairing the damage, just trying to recover the car. But yeah, Timo just using all of that confidence at the moment. That's a solid 10 car lengths at least there. So that will put them in clean air. And that is Brendan Hyperstar going very, very wide. Turn 1, I think that is. So Punju getting another opportunity not seized though. It looks like Josh Merrin isn't pulling away. That whoa, huge snap, huge recovery. What a save.
Oh, and Punju's in the wall behind, so that's going to cause drama. Solstice now with a shot to move up to P3, working into turn 4. Punju's going to run off the circuit and abandon the ship. Now he's going to have to be very careful on the rejoin back. Solstice has to try and find a way around the outside and doesn't get there. And Lithium Fox also hoping for a way to jump on by and get that move. So it's all lining itself up for how much of a big run can you get, pushing over once more towards that inside line. And here's the drag race over through this section. Whoa, Solstice sideways into the barrier slightly there. And now here comes Lethal, almost scaring Punju off the road.
You want the good news, Jake, or the bad news for the drivers?
I want news.
You want the news? Okay, we are past half of the way through the race. The bad news for the drivers is there's still another half the way through the race to drive in these conditions. But we love it here in the comments box, and we're sure you are loving it at home because this is driving at its essence. This is driving at its best as they have to just manage the tricky conditions. Overtake still possible as Solstice just checking the defense right now in P3. They have got past Punju with those further mistakes, and Punju just not being able to manage the car at the moment. That is, I think, Mia Rose going wide a little bit, and it's just all kicking off right now, isn't it?
Des now your leader in GT3 over Sparks and Ancephalosis, and noting that Chesnoid Gaming is down in the pits right now with that terminal damage, having to need to now go to the fast repair to get back out and going. We've got a change up top because Josh Merrin now gives it up to Brendan Hyperstar. So that one has happened on a mistake under braking from Merrin, who went straight on at the hairpin of turn 17. Suddenly, Brendan, now your new leader.
Yeah, Brendan Hyperstar, who we've seen snapping through that turn 3, I think it is. Look at the sideways lock-on. Absolute counter steering. You have to do that to try and maintain the traction. And even under brakes, they're sliding. This is incredible stuff. It's almost as if the GR86s have more grip. That's incredible to see. But it is literally only down to power throughout the straights that the IndyCars are faster at the moment. And just look, they are tiptoeing through. It's worth noting that the IndyCars have to go fast to generate the downforce on the wings. And they're just not able to do that through the corners right now. It's an ice rink out there.
Well, at the moment, it's a case of put whatever musical you want and put on ice. At the end, look at the counter steer there. That's not normally a corner that you have to worry about. And ultimately, it becomes it here. Sparks now sits with the opportunity to look at Des and then Ancephalosis and say, look, I want to start chasing it down. But the gap, 2 seconds here for Brendan Hyperstar and Josh Merrin. That's a good gap.
Indeed, yeah, he's just got to keep going with that, and Josh's corner back out on track as well after that damage repair, so they've got a lot of time to catch up, but it's not looking too bad. I must say the GT3 field is quite spread out with the various incidents, it must be said, and they're actually still in P3 even after all of that damage, so they'll be looking to chase it down. The Ferrari probably pretty good in these conditions as well. As you can see, the spray there just for the IndyCars, it must be a hassle to see where they can go. And that's Josh's corner trying to get the move, but Josh Merrin was on the inside there saying, hey, I'm in the faster car, I want to get by here. So Josh's corner had to wait, and it's, I mean, this is absolute treacherous conditions. I would not want to be the drivers out there right now.
Anna Marvia was on the radio saying she had damage in her battle with Snowbrunch, so allowed that one to go without too much argument. Look at how they just get absolutely blown by on the straight line, but before hitting the brakes, it's just a tiptoe around, and that's all you have to say, really, because you are just babying around this circuit. You are just trying to hope that your right foot doesn't get too aggressive out there, and you just find that you're aquaplaning around on this sort of circuit. It is the, I would say, factor to go and talk about, and I wouldn't want to be Punja in this situation, trying to get by Mia Rose and Josh's corner and just trying to find a way around. Look how tough it is, just thrown to the outside. You don't want to be on the paint. Reska Kyoso gets it better down the inside and steals one.
Yeah, Josh's corner finding no grip through the corner there, just drifted wide into the path of Punju, who got collected a little bit. I don't think there's any damage, but it will be less than confidence-inspiring, let's say. Just want to put it... Oh, that's a huge spin. I think that's Diamgal around, and that is Lithium Fox that's been collected. I think there's been a collision between the two there, and that will be hugely unsettling. Josh's corner, I think, caught up in that one as well. Solstice just trying to get by at this point. My days, that's a big impact.
That's a massive smash on the front stretch. I wouldn't be surprised if an unsafety car came for it here, as these conditions have been atrocious. And down there, I think, at the turn 11 section of track as well, is Josh Merrin, who is in trouble. Safety car is deployed, and no shocks on that.
Yeah, it's, well, there's no question, as you say. That's Punju missing a right rear corner right there. The wheel just crabbing along there, not connected to anything whatsoever. So Punju will be just trying to get back to pits. He's going on a brave manner of speeds there with only 3 wheels. And it sparks a bit of damage on the car as well to the front there. So a lot of drivers carrying damage. They'll probably want to box anyway during this unsafety car period just to repair the car. But you have to say, probably some drivers running out of fast repairs as well, so this could get spicy.
Well, we talk about this as a series that has fast repairs available for you. They do not, out there in this race, sit down and say, with the rules as follows, have infinite. They have just the 4 to go with. And so when you turn around right now, John, and say 4 fast repairs in these conditions with how tough it's been, I think we're going to see some drivers hitting it. We might see some drivers hitting the 40-point incident limit.
Yep, Stroopwafel, for example, is on 3 out of 4 fast repairs used. So is Josh's corner. And apart from that, most drivers sitting on 2 out of 4 fast repairs used. So it is, it's not dire yet for most drivers, but it's getting to uncomfortable territory where you are just looking to survive at this point. And I will say the rain probably not letting up before the end of this race as well. So just for context, I just want to give this one. I was looking at the lap times just before the unsafety car was thrown out there, and they are lapping pretty much 24 seconds slower than in the dry around here. So what is a 1:43 lap time for an IndyCar, for example, is a 2 minutes and 6 seconds out there. So that's the fastest time, but it goes all the way to, down to 2 minute 9 seconds, 2 minute 10 seconds. So they are really struggling for anything on this track at the moment.
I will note they have, for the last 15 minutes, been driving around, John, in Category 4 rain, which is orange band rain out there. There is no let-up between now and the end of this race. And more critically than that, in terms of the damage that we have seen from many of these drivers out there, if this was the real world, this would have been red flag for a few hours.
Yes, but this is Creator Series, so we love the rain, as they say. I mean, obviously, in real life, they wouldn't want to risk the visibility danger more than anything. That, there's a huge amount of spray that is thrown up behind the cars. Visibility, if there's an incident in front of you, we've seen it, to be fair, in this race. If you can't see the incident in front of you, you've got no way of avoiding it. So where people can get hurt, people can get injured, if not worse, we never wish it on anybody, obviously, but it is something that in real life you have to take into account. So the beauty of the simulator is that in theory nobody should get injured unless they're gripping onto the wheel a lot, as they say. So yeah, it just allows us to continue these races, whereas, as you said, in real life it would have been probably postponed if not cancelled.
Let's now set this into motion here as far as this field looks. Your drivers in the top 2 in the championship, 1 and 2 in the front of your field in your Dallara IR18s. Brendan Hyperstar leading, second in the championship. Russell Kyoso second, leading the championship. By comparison, though, Ancephalosis leading GT3 out there over It's Des and Sparks. Chesnoy Gaming down at the back of that pack. So that's going to be where the difference is needed. Brendan Hyperstar is doing everything correct, John. Just needs Ches to find his, I would say his woggle out there, or his pool noodle to help himself go out.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a rough season for Chesnoid Gaming, to be fair. Multiple times they've had the pace, and it's just been a little incident or just getting unlucky with the strategy sometimes. And you just have to feel for them a little bit. Maybe this is the race where it all comes together toward the end. They've got everything to do. But then again, you must say they've got nothing to lose at this stage either. So just go out and get the points, I guess.
Well, absolutely go get the points. That is the entire aim of the game, as well as to have a lot of fun in these conditions. Now, it was quoted on earlier on that Punju is the one who's in charge of setting up all of these sessions out there, and I think for the second straight week he's created a nightmare for everybody out there. And apparently the unsafety car team are saying, look, bonus points for the best dad joke, bonus points if it's rain related.
I wouldn't even want to venture into that one, as there's many that I can think. Oh, hang on, what's gone on there? A collision. That is Sparks has been collected by Chesnoid Gaming. Chesnoid Gaming's gone all the way into the back. I don't understand that one. Was Sparks warming up the tires? I mean, there was a gap there, but that has just been a misread. And into Des as well. It gets worse. What is going on here?
Oh, I see what's happened here. So Sparks was trying to get around Timo, who was leader of the community group that was out there, and Sparks ultimately was trying to pass safely on the outside, and Chesnoy Gaming, who was approaching at a rate of knots, didn't realize where the back of the train was for the GT3 field, and he has plowed into Sparks.
That is incredible scenes, as I think Sparks may not be able to make it back to the pits here.
He's being pushed. He's being pushed by Mia Rose.
Well, that is admirable driving there, and admirable just sportsmanship there. Sparks, with that rear wheel disconnected, will not be able to get back to the pits on their own power. So, Mia Rose, hats off, credit to you.
Wow, what a big moment of sportsmanship that is. Mia realizing she's got a race to run of her own, but she'll choose to do so by jumping into the pits and serving her own strategy out there between now and the end of this one. And they will feel as well, because they are going so long in this. The laps are elongating. The big less amount of lead needed to be on full throttle. Fuel is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, indeed. You're not pushing the throttle pedal all the time. You're lifting off and maybe even going half throttle around some of the corners as well. So you just got to be careful, and that means that the fuel consumption, as you said, is down a lot. I'd say probably about 20% less fuel usage around a circuit like this, especially when you consider on that back stretch you have to lift off, otherwise you go aquaplaning into the barrier. So I just want to point out as well, we have our first driver to hit the 4 out of 4 fast repair limit right now, and that is Josh's corner. A lot of other drivers on 3 out of 4. Chesnoid Gaming Sparks, although it must be said that is not his really his fault too much. and you have there's TV on 3 out of 4 as well. So a lot of drivers getting very close to that limit, as they say.
Would you say then, John, at this point that Josh's corner is all of them because he's left a piece of bodywork at every single corner?
That's for sure. Just painting your brand onto the corners so that your brand recognition is everywhere. That is a marketing strategy, so I can respect that.
I tell you what, for some of these drivers, they're going to be wanting a bubble wrap sponsorship.
Reminds me of those old games where you could do a cheat codes to have like a force field around you so you couldn't take damage and stuff like that. I think that would be very useful. But then again, can you imagine everyone having that and just going pinballing down the rear straight when everyone misjudges the braking zone or indeed misjudges the pack?
I can, and I can see so much concern of letting these drivers go out and race with damage off. In terms of where they sit. We're on lap 23 here of 37, and this has been a long slog of a race, and they are looking to set themselves up knowing how they go. And if it continues like this here, John, let's pay a little bit of a homage to the unsafety cars. They won't be able to get around again and deal with all of the damage because the unsafety cars also only have 4 fast repairs.
Yeah, they do have to worry at this point if they can afford another crash effectively, but that is something we will leave up to them, as they say. They're obviously very experienced in the questionable magic. How would I even put it? Actually, there's just a magic sorcery of the unsafety car and every rule that you have to follow. I think that's the best way of saying it, because every single time they come up with something new, something different, and it's just very funny to watch. But also, you have to say, you have to be a good driver to do it as well.
You can see there with how slick the surface is, the various elements that pool and puddle out there on this track. And Miami currently, I guess, would be currently driving around here April 19th at about 3:30 now in sim time in the afternoon. It is absolutely raining cats and dogs, and do not get caught out in this sort of weather. This is stay home, lock your doors up weather out there as you have to hunker down for a bit of safety. But as far as it sets itself now, I have seen only one driver truly dominate in this field today. He's in your community out there, and it's Timo in the 304.
Yeah, definitely has the pace at the moment, has the consistency as well, and you've seen them make some really, really challenging overtakes, and that has to be commendable in this kind of weather. And you have to say, I don't think there's anybody that can challenge them today at the moment.
I don't think so. A look then with Timo. All you have is your basically your bog standard windscreen wipers that are making all the difference out there for can you see or can you not. And so that is going to be a really strong run out there to try and keep yourself going through, because the moment that you try and clear on one windscreen wiper out there, another one is going to be then very tough to try and get back. So you're basically trying to squint through the rain on the visor to get something sorted.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, can the windscreen wipers go fast enough for these conditions? And especially on the IndyCars, the aero screens, there must be just streaks of rain over them. You can see it there, actually, from this camera. That has got to add even more problems to the visibility, that's for sure. And
oh, look at Hayden. Look at Hayden. Hayden's gone through the pit lane quicker than the unsafety car and has gone out ahead of it.
Not again. I think he's got a lap to catch up. As he no, he
doesn't. That is a legit pass for the lead.
He's done it again, everyone. Hayden shenanigans. He has managed to juke the unsafety car, as they say. And you can see here, literally coming out the pits, there's nobody to be found. I wonder where they all are. Oh, yeah, they're behind him right there.
And if we're being fair about this, you're not allowed to overtake under the safety car or the unsafety car. But it doesn't matter when you pit, because you're not on the racing surface. So you're not effectively forcing an overtake.
And we've seen this in other championships, like, for example, Formula E, where it happened. They had to bring in a specific rule against it. Now, that rule does not exist here. So technically, what Hayden Gullis has done is a very creative, very interpretive rule break against no rule whatsoever. In other words, it's legal.
Yep, it's free real estate out there. I think Hayden has pulled off a masterstroke and everyone else should have been out there. So we're just getting word in from Ben Sapsford, who's helping us here on cameras for this one today. Season 4 will introduce the Gullis principle, or what we have seen, the Ross Chastain rule. I think the Gullis rule might have to come into play for this.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one I think, well, a lot of people, yeah, the unsafety car holding, actually, I think Hayden Gullis behind there, just saying, you get back in line. I saw what you did there. And yeah, the unsafety car just saying, I'm not very happy about this, so I am just going to do everything to interfere. And you can see there, it's just chaos at the moment as Hayden is trying to get away from the unsafety car. This is like House Robot territory again.
Yeah, we're going to be looking around at the patrol zone out there, the CPZ. So that is going to be troubles out there for Hayden Gullis, who has re-inherited back then to race lead position then with that move. And so unsafety car, I think, will be in this lap.
Yep, they'll have approximately 13 laps of racing to go as well. So that's a stint. They should make it in fuel at least. So they've just got to keep the tyres up to temperature. It's going to be so difficult to get those tyres warmed up, that's for sure. Hayden still toying with the unsafety car. I don't think an open wheeler versus an unsafety car, GTP car, would be the best of fights for Hayden to take.
Yep, so Hayden here sits down, realizes he's got work to do, and the unsafety car here, Hayden is trying to run away as quickly as possible here and hope that the unsafety car can't chase. In these conditions, they're very equal, but Hayden, you've got one flaw. You're behind on the brakes and abandons it over to the left-hand side as the unsafety car is going to lose all shades of control. Oh, what a hit. That's going to come straight back. That's going to come straight back on the apex. Oh, my!
Parked right there for them to recover it, as all the unsafety cars should be. That is incredible scenes. I just want to note as well, Hayden Gullis has well, he's in the pits, but he's still leading the race. So technically, this is your restart.
This is your restart. Lap 25. Hayden Gullis will trundle down the lane, get service. Brendan Hyperstar and Reska Kyoso will also get their launches then and get on their way. But that sets themselves back up then for the next phase of running, as they will know they are trying to tick over towards the end of this race. With the lack of speed that has been run, this track has watered itself massively again. Gullis out of the pits after that stop is still going to be in third.
I'm losing my mind right now. So that's Reska Kyoso that's just gone past. So they are in third. As you can see, Punju will be saying, what has just happened? I've lost out on third place, even though Hayden has pitted as well. So Hayden Gullis going for fresh tyres as well. That, I think, is Josh Merrin going on Punju. A little bit of contact there. The background. That was a very argy-bargy move. Lithium Fox still not finding any grip out there. And that's Solstice as well. Just all over the place. It's so difficult when you can't see on the track. The grip is not there. And when you're in a pack of cars, you're basically just having to judge where the others are braking and hope that it sticks.
Oh, Ches around again. So Chesnoy Gaming struggling through turn 4 out there and trying to recover back on. I think he's a dry runner. He doesn't like the wet out there very much at all. Ancephalosis also falling back. He's now into third with Sparks trying to hunt down Storm Molina and Josh's corner, all trying to find ways to get through. At the front, Reska Kyoso and Brendan Hyperstar, the two titans at the top of the championship for their respective teams, are dueling tete-a-tete. This is the difference between, are you going to get through and gain points, or are you going to lose them?
Well, and it's also just crunch time for the championship as well. If you can force your rival into a mistake and they go into the barrier and they lose a wheel, they drop all the way down to the back of the order, or they don't finish the race, that is a game, set, match for the championship. So everything counts here. And for a driver like Josh Merrin, you can sit back and have a look and say, please crash. I'd love to take the victory of this one. Brendan Hyperstar braking later. Can they get it stopped? Yes, just about. Reska Kyoso challenging to the outside, trying to go around the outside. It won't happen. Brendan Hyperstar shuts the door, slams it shut. Josh Merrin still defending on Punju, but it looks like Punju has a renewed shape of form here.
Yeah, Punju looking to be aggressive. New front wing to knock off for Punju at this point, but this is all about holding steady. Reska's deeper on the brakes. brakes. There's contact as they work through. Off goes Hyundai. Hyperstar spins into the side. There of Reska Kyoso. It's Josh Merrin who leads. Reska then having to limp back around in the 113. Oh my goodness. Top two in the championship collide in the deluge of Miami.
That's what to say. It's happened almost immediately right there. It was on the books. You could see for the championship it means so much, but both of them have a little bit of damage as well, so they're just going to be tiptoeing back. In fact, both of them have lost the same part of their front wing as well, so they are just going to be dropping positions right now as everyone just will be able to overtake them. Look at the understeer right now. Reska Kyoso actually has a little bit more front wing left than I thought. So that may be an advantage. So Brendan Hyperstar might have thrown this one away a little bit. I think it was just a pure mistake into turn one, wasn't it, Jake?
It was. It happened so quickly, and you get out on a piece of the circuit that is not rubbered in, that is as slick as you like and painted. There's not much you can do to keep yourself out of trouble. Josh's Corner also in trouble and down in the pits right now after a turnaround by Storm Molina, getting a pure quarter paneling coming through to turn 18. And there is Storm Molina having to take the tow back to pit with damage. And so that was actually catching the backwards Des, who had spun through turn 3.
Crucially, Josh's Corner as well is in the pits with damage. They've got no fast repairs left. It's game over, perhaps, for Josh's Corner. Spark still with a little bit of damage on the car as well in P3, as that's encephalosis in front as well. So the GT3 category, there is your top 3 on screen right now. So it's so close, and they're just tiptoeing around.
They are, but this is where it's starting to change, because Reska Kyoso is now so far off and has actually missed the marks by a mile, and I think maybe run up the back of Hayden Gullis under braking almost there. Is going to be able to get that back out then of where that was lost. But this is a case of, can you even survive and hold your braking zone? In wet conditions, you use so much more of the brain to try and keep the car understanding what is it doing.
Oh, that's contact at the front. That's Stroop Waffle and encephalosis, and they're going straight on into the barriers. Huge contact, huge damage. That is your leaders taken out of the GT3 category, and that promotes Sparks, as far as I can tell, up to P1. Yes, indeed. Incredible scenes, I think, just coming together right before that. I think it was just a little bit of contact into the braking zone, and as you said, as soon as you get it sideways, there's not much you can do about it.
Well, it was all about those two leaving no room. Encephalosis was trying to get through a gap that didn't really exist. And so Sparks now leads. They'll be down in pit lane. So they'll look around. Des, damage. And now up to second. Storm Molina in the pits towing. Ches is suddenly going to be third right now. And Brendan Hyperstar and Chesnoy Gaming are going to turn. And in the space of about a lap here right now, John, maybe 2, they are right in the championship picture with 1 round to play at Monza.
Yeah, Brendan Hyperstar has to just keep going at the moment now. 10 laps to go, and with that broken front wing, they just have to hope that everybody gets involved in contact, that everybody just fumbles the bag effectively, because you're losing multiple seconds a lap, but is just running in clean air, far away from anybody else, the right strategy at the moment. Even if you have damage, it's, well, questionable. I have no idea. This is a race unlike any other that I've seen before, where you just have to throw out the rule book, throw out everything you know, and just drive to what you feel. As you said, like before, Jake, you just have to feel what the car is doing. Use probably 90% of your brain capacity to just keep the car on track. And if you can avoid other cars in doing so, that's a bonus.
And while we're seeing that, we've also got a battle for lead in your GR86s. So some Hachiroku action between Timo and Mia Rose. You've got DM Gal desperately trying to stay with them in third place. Linien in fourth. But ultimately, I would turn and say, Mia, she's having a wonderful drive, just looking to try and gather up the momentum, then slightly missed apex from Timo, but able to get the power down on the exit. This will be a drag race all the way to 11.
Well, indeed. Timo hasn't really been under pressure a lot this race, but Miro's just turning up the wick a little bit here, and you can see the slipstream will be in good effect. They'll have to do a little bit of a lift, I think, just to avoid the aquaplaning. But down into turn 11 here will be last of the late breakers. When they decide to go, they got an IndyCar. I think that's Josh Merrin, who's in the lead at the moment, just trying to get by, saying thank you ever so much for getting out of the way. And Miro's will go to the outside, Timo to the inside, and just defending that line. But Miro's, can they just get an inkling? No, not quite. The door slammed in their face. They will have to wait at least a little bit more, but the IndyCars will probably say something about this one as they want to get past.
They do want to get by. They do want to find a way to make the overtake, but ultimately, if they're going to get through, they're going to have to earn those passes out there on circuit. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. It is a very wet track that will stay this way all the way to the end of running. But I would look at Mia Rose. They're pulling the gap away. They now just have to focus. Oh, bang! Upside down on the straight. Timo is completely rolled. Flips end over end and upside down. That's got to be an unsafety car. Look at it. Bang! There's more.
Hayden Gullis collected, I think, there as well. That is Hayden Gullis. That's a huge incident. Des TV, as you said, collecting in that one. And just a case of visibility once again. And he's in the middle of the road. Huge amount of debris on track. And you can see people just avoiding action there. And Cephalotis. And yeah, safety car deployed. But that was spicing up to be a battle in GT3 as well. These two have been nose tail. And there you go. Confirmation of safety car. Hayden Gullis will probably be able to tow to pit lane, but that is a huge one, as they say.
Well, Des had his own moment on the back stretch. That set the chain reaction up, because after that contact, Des was limping home with a crabbing machine in the rain, and ultimately, I think, just caught a puddle and actually a white line, came back across the circuit with a spin, and as everybody went by and the damage was there, that is going to be a tough, tough moment. Timo is desperately unlucky, got sideswiped from the damage and rolled over, and then everybody else then trying to slow. Hannah Malvia then was another one who was trying to keep it out of the way of everybody else, and then got run over by Hayden, moving on by. So a mostly deserved unsafety car for a massive accident out there, but a chance for this field to reset what you would probably feel, John, will be one final time.
Yeah, the worst part for Timo is that is the first fast repair. That is the first incident they have actually had to repair this entire race. So they've kept it so clean, and it's just an unfortunate case of you can run a perfect race, you can have the best pace. If something goes wrong in front of you, there's not much you can do, and there is the unsafety car. Once again, proving that it is very much forklift certified. And I tell you what, if I had forklift certification, I'd be doing this all day.
I'd love to drive backwards. Driving backwards is everything I want. And then some when I go about and do my business as an unsafety car. So, for that, I would turn and say that this is a field now that pretty much holds itself as one where everything is either held or has a lot to change. Josh Merrin is in for a final pit stop. So, Punju should inherit the race lead. Lithium Fox to second. And Brendan Hyperstar right now is missing a front wing. He's going to come in and also get some service sorted. So this is going to be the latest of the lates can be, trying to get themselves around. Reska Kyoso given a lifeline.
Yeah, for sure. And Brendan Hyperstar, because they're able to pit for repairing the damage as well. Just noticed that Des TV has been given the black flag as well, presumably for incident points right there. So it's been a tough old race out there for them, that's for sure. As you've got Sormelina just getting the lap back, I think. So there's quite a few drivers that have just all over the place in terms of contacts today. It's been one of those races you can't really determine what's going to happen until the last few laps.
You can't. You absolutely can't, because these conditions have been so tough. Everybody's been turning around, and that's problems for the unsafety car there. Trying to work through. Reversing's not going to work yourself out of that problem. So smashes hard into the wall, and now is going to need to get back on the noisy pedal then to get through. And currently reversing 125 kilometers an hour is top speed in reverse. The more you know.
It's bad news from unsafety car land. Due to that incident, they have lost their forklift certification. They're going to have to take it again. That's a tragic news, isn't it, for the unsafety car team?
Well, it has to be said that this goes down as a sad day in the world of forklift certification, and really there for the likes of the unsafety car, they will be hoping that they can get that back swiftly, effectively, brush it under the carpet, and hope it never happens again.
Indeed, indeed. As Hayden Gullett's absolutely steaming by. And the unsafety car, as you said, is doing upwards of 120 kilometers per hour. And the unsafety car is going, the IndyCar is going so fast that it just points out how the closing speeds are utterly ridiculous right now in this race as well, as I think they might have to pit for some damage repair. No, they just try and bait us, as they did in the commentary box, as if they were going back into the pits. But no, it's another lap for the unsafety car as they demonstrate how to drive in reverse in tricky conditions. I didn't know that was criteria for being a good sim racing driver, but obviously we are being experimental here in the Creator Series.
We are, and in these very wet conditions, only the best of the best are able to rise. And we talk about how in wet races that drivers who find a way to dominate in the less grippy conditions have the ability to show that they are some of the best out there in the world. And we're seeing that if you can drive around a circuit backwards, you are the best in the world. Punju right now, number 13, he's probably got every omen right now going, it's good right now at this moment. Let's just hold.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, inheriting the lead once again. Punju's had a pretty consistent race, a few contacts, but I mean, who hasn't in this race at the moment? So, yeah, it's been a pretty good drive, and they've had pace as well, especially in the changeable conditions when the rain started. So, we'll have to wait and see how this race pans out, but they'll be just wishing for no more drama, no more problems. Lithium Fox as well in P2 at the moment has been a driver in the wars a little bit, just struggling for grip, especially in this first sector. So we could see a concertina effect with Josh Merrin in P3 there. He'll be wanting to get through, that's for sure. The unsafety car just lacking a bit of turning there, it seems, as well, as they try and go through flat out in reverse.
Mobility then being critical, and that then struggling. I might have seen a couple of buses have a bit more rotation through than what we've seen from the unsafety car. But Lithium Fox in second behind Punju, Josh Merrin third, Brendan Hyperstart is fourth, Solstice will be fifth, Reska in sixth, and Hayden Gullis seventh. So that's how they stack in your Dallara IR18. Sparks leading category in GT3. Chesnoy Gaming is second, and Stroop Waffle is then third. Ancephalosis is fourth. And so if you're looking around at it here, now it's just a chip above then for those in the run for the championship. So work for Ancephalosis, work for Reska Kyoso.
Yeah, that's for sure. But then again, they got nothing to lose once again, so they can just go for it as long as they finish the race. But that's the thing, though. The fast repairs, they're on 3 out of 4 fast repairs, Reska Kyoso anyway. So there is a lot of jeopardy here in terms of championship. At this point, do you say you want to kind of just pick up positions if other people make mistakes? But it's so easy to say that and to try and plan it. But in reality, this race, even if you play it cautiously, it could be another incident that takes you out. So you've just got to pray and hope that everything goes your way. With 6 laps still remaining, anything could still happen.
Anything can happen, and in the world of sim racing, it usually does here, and especially with Creator Series, we could be in for a blockbuster end to racing out there as they set. Punju then on lap 31 at this moment of 37, knows that when he next crosses the line, he'll have 6 laps of racing left. All the difference is going to be needed then as working into turn 17, they will come along. It looks like they'll need one more. It's worth noting as well, Des is down in the pit with a penalty to be serving as well at the same time. So he's looking to try and get that sorted. We'll have at least one more lap behind the unsafety car, and then that will just leave 5 laps to go here around the Miami International Autodrome. And at the moment, we can say very safely that the 72 Dolphins are once again unbeaten. There is no way that anyone has been invincible out there at the front of this field.
Yeah, for sure. And we got
Oh,
synchronized
oh,
drifting and
oh!
almost a spin back there, broken the rear wing a little bit there. So that car is definitely better now to drive in reverse. I can say that much. I think just a little bit of showboating there has gone wrong for the unsafety car. But
Sorry,
we don't think
showboating in the rain, a boat.
show cruising, I think, at this stage, because of the maneuverability of that unsafety car isn't even deemed worthy of a yacht at this point.
No, I think you're looking at a rubber dinghy by comparison out there, rather than anything of any splendor or valor out there for the unsafety car. But I would look around as well. Mia Rose in control of the GR86s. Linien in second in the 311, and DM Gal currently in third place. So for the moment, this could be a really strong end of running, as those three will look to battle. Reese in fourth and Asoy currently in fifth.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be, especially in the GR86s, there's been very little pace difference between them, so it's shaping up to be just one of those grandstand finishes once again. We've had so many of them in the GR86 season so far, so definitely, I think at the end of the race, it would be safe to say that you need to throw out the lifeboats for some of them right now, just so they can get back into the running. But yeah, they definitely will be a little bit soggy toward the end of this race, that's for sure.
I heard you might need a door to float on after the end of this race that two people could very easily get on, but only one person will.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Well, do you take your community entry or your entry in GT3? That's the big question about that one. Which out of the two of the three?
Well, I don't know, but I would never let go. So,
and I would question why there's only one person on the door. See, each the same.
Yeah, each to their own and each the same. But this is now the calm before the proverbial storm out there here. They will have 5 laps to decide this amongst themselves and get through some almightily difficult racing still left here around Miami. In Category 3 rain at the moment, it has now found itself with a pocket of Category 2 all around. No chance of rain slowing down or stopping around this circuit. And now for what we believe will be the final time. The unsafety car is on patrol and ready for itself to come in for that final time. And we'll now be looking at the final great hurrah of accident down at turn 17. How do you end the homage? Oh, slip, slide, and having to nose around, back, bang, right behind the barriers there. Perfect homage and saving an engine pop for good measure as well. Punju is holding this field back massively at this point. And who's that flying by? That's Josh's corner. He's getting a lap back late to try and get back into position, but is still well over a lap adrift at this moment, trying to salvage it with no fast repairs. Took mandatory service and still trying to get back onto leading lap. Working now through towards turn number 17 here on circuit. Pace is under control of Punju and Lithium Fox, Josh Merrin and Brendan Hyperstar, the 3 directly behind. When do you light up the tyres? Now is the answer to go. Punju lights it up and we're back underway here at Miami.
Very clever boxing there from Punju, just waiting till his car was in a straight line, booting it before Lithium Fox was completely done with the hairpin turner. Although Lithium Fox looks to have a little bit just more braking power or confidence into the first turn. However, nothing done of it. Whoa, Josh Merrin really sliding through turn 2 right there. And it's everyone tiptoeing through the corner right now. Punju with a bit of a slide. Lithium Fox with a slide. It's tandem drifting out there at the moment.
Every driver for themselves. GT3s, we've got one straight on in Ancephalosis, so Strootwaffle's going to pick up a place, and maybe Stormalina as well. And then you've got GR86s, they're off at the moment. And speaking of off, it's Josh's corner, and the rear's gone. Spinning around Chesnoy Gaming, Ancephalosis also around. Oh my goodness.
Carnage in the GT3 class is so difficult. You can see lots of damage on the front there. Oh, Chesnoid lost the rear wing as well. Ancephalosis, a little bit of damage. I don't think a lot of crabbing there, so should be okay. But it's all coming to forefront right now. That's Reska Kyoso and Solstice battling as well. So Reska Kyoso really needs to get a move on now, up to P5 at the moment. Hayden Gullis tracking them as well, as far as I can tell. So a lot of moves. Oh, that's Brendan Hyperstar in trouble as well, I think, as well. They've dropped down the position, or were fighting with Lithium Fox at least into that turn, and just had to give up on the inside.
Now, there is going to be a little bit of funky stuff here with the timer out there. Remember, it is an hour 45. We've done an hour 23's worth of racing out there at this point, and Reska Kyoso is directly behind Brendan Hyperstar on circuit. In the pits with a tow is Josh's corner right now. Chesnoy Gaming is limping around. He's now last of everybody then in his category right now. So Ancephalosis will be scoring some critical points. It's now important that Brendan Hyperstar runs up the order. Can't get the look down on the inside. Trying to get the pivot then off of the exit. We're going to go on to lap 34 here with Punju in control of this one. And there's a look for Liz trying to get the race lead away. But that is, or second away. Josh Merrin happy. I don't think this is the final lap of the race here, because we'll still have 20 minutes on the clock, so they'll keep going until they see the checkered flag out there. But for the moment, Punju is very, very under the cosh.
For sure, Josh Merrin just pulling away at the moment. 2.4 seconds already. Brendan Hyperstar looking for any grip whatsoever. And it's just Lithium Fox trying to hang on in there. Just hasn't had the confidence to get the overtake done at the moment. But Punju's putting the car exactly where he needs to defend. All the way to the inside. That's how it's done.
Yep, so it's working well at the moment here on lap 34. We're expecting these few laps, though, still to be scored out there with Josh Merrin in full command of things at the moment. So I don't think we're sat on a race where they're saying, look, this is going to be as tough can be out there. This has been a stone-cold, difficult run out there for everybody to try and navigate through. Lithium Fox is looking for a way to hold steady. I don't see Barney waving that white flag out there, but Lith here in third is just doing a great job, and Brendan Hyperstar right now is just going to have to try and just get any marginal gain.
Yeah, indeed. They've just got to try and just keep it going. Dropping it at this stage of the race is just so bad. You lose all the points. So you've got to think, is that overtake worth it for Josh Merrin? They don't have to worry about that. So we'll have to wait and see whether it is indeed the final lap. I don't think it is indeed. So Josh Merrin just cruising at the moment, and he's got the easy job just to wait and see. Lithium Fox there in the background, you can see just getting an inkling to see if they're far enough alongside. It won't look like it into the hairpin, but Punju is just so under pressure at the moment. Anything could happen.
Anything can, and it usually does, and it will be confirmed. We're going to lap 37 out there, so it's not the final lap just yet. Brendan Hyperstar, long way around here of Lithium Fox. How much will Lith fight this one in towards turn one? Brendan taking the outside line. They're going to fall to the same line. Oh, what a move by Brendan Hyperstar up into third, but Lith doesn't give up. Lith is going to go. Punju goes spearing sideways, but holds it. And now Brendan can go around the outside here and go for second. Critical moves right now. Inside of turn four, Brendan turns up the style.
Yeah, indeed, and Punju's going to come back across, nearly tagging, I think, just leaving a little bit, and you can see how snappy it is at the moment. Punju, with that little bit of slide, has lost confidence. That's allowed Brendan Hyperstar to go through, as we just seen, and I think Brendan's just been able to get that confidence where he needed to get past Lithium Fox, trying to find a way around. It won't happen at the moment, but look at that gap. It's 5 seconds to the race leader. Josh Merrin has checked out of this one. It's up to Brendan Hyperstar to chase him down. He has 2.5 laps to do it.
And Ancephalosis now fighting hard with Storm Molina is now third out there at this moment, crossing the line, knowing that you got the likes there of Strootwaffle in second. Fourth is Storm Molina, and Chesnoy Gaming is confirmed at the moment in 5th place. So this is where you turn around. Reska's going to drop some points, but the bigger question is, how many points will Ancephalosis claw back to create the parity?
Yeah, indeed, just got to go for it. Strootwaffle defending really well there at the moment, but these two have been sort of the nose to tail for the majority of the race, and they've been involved in a few incidents. That was Ancephallosis going up the inside, trying to get an overtake round the outside as well of that turn 5 complex. So really, really tricky. Lithium Fox still stuck behind that. Is Rescue?
Oh,
Solstice is the back! Incredible stuff. Solstice locked up and into the back of Rescue. That's the rear wing gone. That's huge. That'll be them into the pits. They'll have no choice but to repair that. That has blown the championship wide open, it's safe to say.
VTuber on VTuber this late on in the race. Reska Kyoso is now going to have to limp this one back with the rear wing dangling off the back right now of that Dallara IR18. And Brendan Hyperstar in second position might just see this championship go right down to the wire.
But are they aware of it? That's the thing. When you're so focused on the racing, will they just try and go for Josh Merrin? At the moment, the gap is coming down a little bit. They've gone wide. They've gone wide. They might throw away the P2. Here comes Punju all the way to the inside, and they have taken it back. Brendan Hyperstar's dropped a place. Drama right to the end in this race. Incredible scenes.
Well, they've got a lap and a bit, and they're now trying to get through.
Oh.
GT86 is lit straight into the back of Timo, and that's going to make Lit stranded and suddenly has to take a tow. Reska's going to get another one back, and that is what we're talking about. Pick the moment in a race like this one. It's so difficult to drive through. Yes, Brendan Hyperstar is third, but Reska is back into P5, and as far as I think, it's only going to be marginal here. The encroachment from the likes of the team behind. It was 17 coming in today. It might just be 15 coming out.
I'm head in my hands right now in the comms box as to what we've just witnessed right now. We have seen the championship basically unravel for one team and nearly unravel completely for Brendan Hyperstar. It's just drama out there. They are just pushing to the limit these last couple of laps, and they're throwing it away.
Brendan finding himself then with a half spin as he nearly collected Punju in the race on for second. I think you got to take your medicine now, Brendan. Heading on to the final lap proper at long last here of this race around this Miami International Autodrome. It's been a washout here today from many drivers out there, and this has been all about who has been able to keep themselves on the straight and narrow. Strootwaffle is in trouble on the back stretch, and so Ancephallosis now is up to second with Chesnoid in fifth. Strootwaffle is limping around, trying to find a way. If Ches can get that place, that is everything for the championship. And there's the contact with Des.
Oh,
Bang! And Brendan in the barriers. And suddenly the race turns on a paradigm again. Coming out smelling of roses might be Reska Kyoso, who's limping around turn one. They're all trying to limp through. Hayden Gullis is now on the podium here as they set up for the final half of this race. Oh my goodness, what has gone on here in the rain? Nobody has been able to hold composure out there at the point. This is a mega moment as far as the end of this race is concerned. And Brendan Hyperstar is limping to get back in fourth. Reska limping in fifth, well, in sixth now, because Solstice has gone through and has taken the place away. But Solstice could late on get Brendan Hyperstar as it goes. No worries for Josh Merrin, who's making his way now to turn 17 out on circuit. As far as this has gone, they've looked around, and this has been a mighty performance right now. And surely, for those who have searched, for those who have hoped to find a chance in the rain, this has been a tale taller than one to chase for the one true ring. Josh Merrin to the line wins at Miami.
Just such a deserved victory. He's kept it on the track. He's profited from other people's mistakes and has always had the pace. Punju will come home in second place as well. A confident, deserved podium from him. And Hayden Gullis somehow. Hayden Gullis. There you go. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
Mia Rose will be coming to the line shortly to take the victory in your community creators class of GR86s. She kept her head above water, so to speak, pardon the pun, and doing well. Behind that is Brendan Hyperstar, who will limp home in 4th place with damage and has done just enough to put a tiny little dent in. Solstice will be 5th as they've got great battling here over towards the line. DM Gal ultimately will be taking 2nd. It's a long old wait for Sparks right now, who leads, and only 3 on the lead lap then as they will cross. And Chesnoy Gaming, I think, might even steal on the final laps of this race here the opportunity of 4th from Strootwaffle. So keep an eye on that as that goes through. Great drag racing over towards the line. Storm Molina currently in 3rd, but there is Sparks. Quiet day for Sparks on top of everyone else.
I don't think anybody's had a quiet day. Everybody's been involved in incidents. I mean, look at Hayden Gullis on the podium of IndyCar. It's just been, when you've had the contact, Sparks, for example, he's been in the wars midway through the race. He's been able to repair the car, get back out on track. And the latter part of the race has just been him cruising away, everybody else having drama behind him. And Cephalosis, you can see in the background, he's been, I won't say lucky, but he's avoided the damage in some of the incidents as well. And it's just been a case of survival. And if there's one man that can do it in GT3, it is indeed Sparks. And unless there's any drama on the last corner, I wouldn't put it past the GT3 category at this point. But Sparks will come across the line for a deserved victory. It's been a torrid